Hey, what's up guys? Got a fall day here and I thought I would show you the solar air heater I made, and I've got another one I'm putting together that's similar, so I'll show you how I did it. But basically what I have here is just a box made out of pressure treated plywood. On the inside, if you can see it, maybe the sun will come out, I've got dryer vent hose just like that, except for it's spray painted black, and I've got an, if you can see it, an inlet and an outlet there, and I've run it like so, so I've got the cold air coming in the bottom, running through the entire length of the hose and up through the top, and then back into the house. The inside of the box is 1/2 inch styrofoam insulation painted black to help absorb the sun. I've got some screws in there to help hold the dryer vent up in a bracket. On the inside, right inside there, you can't see it, but I've got a thermostat to help kick this thing on and off so I don't have to worry about it. Alright, so this is solar heater number 2. It's a little different than the first one. And I just wanted to show you how I built the box and put it together. So basically I just got this wood for free from work. It's pressure treated. It's going to be outside obviously, so it's the best choice. Figured out my dimensions first. Cut them on the 45s. Was the second thing I did, and then I notched out for the glazing on one edge and for the plywood backer on the other. Now the plywood I got was free from work. It's 7/8, and so this is pretty deep here. It's going to be pretty heavy, but it'll work just fine. It'll be rugged, that's for sure. And so what I've done here basically is I've pre-drilled the screw holes here so I don't split the wood and it doesn't wander on me, and I can get a nice tight fit. So I'll just go ahead and screw these together, and then I'll catch up with you in a second or two for the plywood. Okay, so I've cut my plywood for the back. It's 7/8 of an inch thick, and it's called Advantech. Pretty good stuff. And again, it was free from work. So what I did when I cut it out is I didn't cut it to be completely tight. I left a little tiny gap around the edges for when it heats and cools down, it's going to expand and contract. So basically I'm just going to pop it in there, drill it out, pre-drill it, and screw it in. We should be good to go. Just kind of put some random screws in around here. Okay, the screws that I'm using just happen to be leftover screws that I had. They're weather resistant. You need to make sure that you're going to have something that's not going to rust being out in the weather. Basically, I'm just going to screw it all on and get on to the next step. Alright, so the next step in this, as you saw my other one, was the dryer vent hose that went back and forth to collect heat through the whole thing. This is going to be a screen version of it. A lot of people have them on YouTube that they've made and everything. I wanted to try one out. So what I've done is I've got my inlet cut is going to come in over here. I'm going to take a 3-inch hole saw and drill the hole right there, so my cold air from the house is going to come in this side, and it's going to go through the little holes there, and I'm going to have a screen, which you'll see on a slant right here. The screen's going to be on a slant, I don't know, I'll probably double or triple it up. We'll see when we get there. And then we're going to have this set of holes on the other side. So the air is going to come in through the top of the screen on this side, flow through the screen, which will be heated up by the sun, and in through these holes underneath the screen on the bottom and back into the house. Hopefully nice and hot. So I've got one more hole to drill out here, and we'll put that in place, and we'll see what happens next. Not too tight, but snug, so you kind of get the gist of it. Ooh, I've got the holes on the wrong side. I wanted the airflow to go through the screen and in through the bottom on this side. Alright, so I've got my 3-inch hole saw here for the inlet and the outlet. I got my other hole drilled on that side, and I'm going to finish drilling this hole out here. I want as much heating space as possible, so I kept this probably about a 1/2 inch away from the side. I didn't want to get too close because I'm going to need to put some caulking around there and all that, but I didn't want it to be too far because I'm losing heating space, right? So yeah, I'll go ahead and finish drilling this out, and we'll put these in. So that's that. I guess what I got to do is just clean this all up so I don't have sawdust all over the place. And then we'll put these into position and get on with the rest of it. Okay, we cleaned the box out, and I got these set where I wanted them. I've got that one screwed in. I got to finish screwing this one in. And what I did is made sure I left the smallest amount of space here that I could work with so that the heating space is bigger. As with everything on this, I've been drilling it out first, just so I don't have any problems. These are exterior screws. That's what you need to use so they don't rot or rust. So that's what I've got. Basically, I have 4 screws in these. What I'm going to do before I paint this, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and caulk the seams on the bottom and along the sides so that I don't lose any airflow. I want the air to come through there and right through these holes here, not around the sides if I can help it. And then on the inside here is where I'm going to mount my inlet and my outlet going back to the house. I'm going to put a thermostat in here as well, and I'll show you that when we get to that point. Okay, so now we have our pieces on the inside that are going to hold the screen cut out. We've got that one installed on this side. Basically just pre-drilled, put 3 screws in there. We're going to do the same on this side. So I'll tap that in. Probably don't even need screws, it's nice and tight. But we'll do it anyway. Oops, wrong bit. this is doing is holding a screen, so we really don't need to make it too rugged, just enough to hold it in place. That's all. Okay, so the next step is to go to the hardware store and get some screen, and we're going to lay some screen right on top of here. And we're probably going to double or triple it up, just enough so that the sun can go through the screen and heat up the underneath, and heat up the screen itself. And we're going to use aluminum screen, not fiberglass, because the aluminum will hold the heat better and transfer it better. Before we put the screen on, we're going to get it all cut and ready to go, but before we put it on, we're going to paint all this black. Okay, so after we put the little side pieces in that are going to hold the screen, what I did was I had some of this foam, half-inch foil foam that I bought at the hardware store, and I cut that out for either side, which was kind of pain in the butt. I don't have my camera guy today either, so I'm going to have to do this and show you at the same time. So basically just cut it to fit on either side. And got a piece for the bottom as well. It's right in there. And I cut a piece for either side here. Okay, the top chamber here, that's going to be the heat going into the house. I didn't put the insulation in, I didn't think I really needed to, so I just spray painted it black, so it's going to absorb some heat when the sun hits it anyway. I'm going to do the same to this side. As soon as it dries out a little bit, had a little bit of rain last night, so it's a little moist. So the next step is installing the screen, and I'm going to put 3 separate sheets on here. I'm going to put staple one sheet of screen on. I'm going to put some spacers, another sheet, some spacers, and then the final sheet. So I'll have 3 layers of screen here. Okay, I've got all the inside pieces here and painted black. What I've noticed I'm going to have to do probably is just put a couple random screws just to make sure everything stays down and doesn't like pop up at all with all the heat being generated in here. And the other thing, well, the next step I'm going to do is I'm going to put the screen over the inside of the box here, and then spray paint everything black. Okay, before I get too far ahead, just to show you as I go, what I've done is bought some screening, aluminum, not fiberglass, because aluminum is going to absorb the heat. Fiberglass isn't. And basically, I've started here. I've stretched it up to the end, folded it in half, and doubled it up and came back down. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to put these spacers in between and then roll this back up and put 2 more layers of screen on top. After I get all the screening on, I'll just spray paint the edges here. If there's any white still showing, I'll spray paint that, and then I'll put some more foil foam on the sides here to finish it off. Okay, I kind of lost my camera guy today. He's at school, so I'm do the best I can here. But this is what I meant by putting some separation between the screens. I just drilled them out so they wouldn't split. Just put a couple strips there, and put a couple strips on that side, and then I'll roll the screen back over, put a couple more layers of screen on it, and call it good. Okay, I've got my screen doubled back on top, and I've got it stapled. And one thing I'll tell you, if you do the staples, make sure that you go ahead and hammer these down in all the way, otherwise they stick up just a little bit. So what I'm going to do now is basically roll this screen back across here and put 1 more layer on it. So I'll have 4 layers total to collect the heat. And I'll staple that down and make sure everything's black, and move on to the next step. Alright, so we got our screen in, everything painted black around the edges, and the next step was to do the thermostat. If you can come over here you can see it. So what I did is I got a little thermostat. It turns on, I believe, at 135, 140 and shuts off at 90 degrees. So I just drilled a little hole in here. This is going to be setting upright, so I drilled it upwards so that water can't leak in it. This is just going to kind of hang in here, and when the temperature heats up, it'll turn on the fan and start heating the house. Okay, I do have some plexiglass over there that I need to put on here next, and this is what I'm going to use to go underneath the plexiglass. I used some foam stuff last time and it didn't work out very well. Kind of soaked up the moisture, so I'm hoping this will work a little bit better. And it's just got a sticky bottom, so we'll just stick it around the edges and we'll go ahead and put the plexiglass on. Afterwards, when I cut the box out, I also cut these pieces out. So when the plexiglass goes in here, these pieces are going to go over the top, and I'm going to drill them in place, and that'll hold the plexiglass in. Now, one thing that I did notice was the plexiglass that I got over here was a little too thin, and you can see how the sun kind of warped it when I had it in my other heater. So I'm going to flip it around and use it again, but I definitely recommend getting something thick that's not going to warp. Okay, so I'll go ahead and get this in, and then we'll put the glass in. And hopefully this keeps out a little bit more moisture than the other one did. I didn't want to put caulking in here because I wanted to be able to take this apart if I needed to, and if I had caulking in there it just wouldn't have been very good. Not to mention that I'm kind of experimenting a little bit, so if I want to change something, I'd like to be able to just get in there real quick and take it apart. And it's easier to do that when you don't have to clean all the caulking off and start over. Alright, so I've got all my edge pieces on here. Now what I've got to do is just drill them out so that the screws don't split any wood. Just kind of getting them into place here. These are the screws I'm using. Just a decking screw, exterior decking screw, so they won't rust. And I'm just pre-drilling just enough so that the screws hold. Okay, so we got the plexiglass in, and like I said, it's a little thin, so I definitely do something a little thicker, and I'm going to replace it eventually, but I just want to see how this thing is going to work. The elbows that I put in the back, you can see they're all adjustable. I'm going to hook the hose on to go in the window. But if you look in front, I just kind of cut it and bent it to hold it in place. And I'm going to put some caulking around the edge to seal it up. Thermostat's there. That should kick on when it heats up to temperature and kick on when it cools down. And yeah, so all I got left is to just plumb it into the window, and we should be good to go. We'll see how it works. Okay, so here it is running. Kind of feels like a hairdryer running. It's been running for about an hour now, and you can see it draws the cold air from the bottom of the floor and goes in through the heater and then comes back in. And I'll show you what I did outside for this. Okay, again with free materials, I made a stand for it. Wanted to kind of give it a little permanent lean to the winter sun, and my thought, it's still running right now, and it's half shaded, so it's actually working pretty good. As you can see, I get like dabbled sunlight throughout the day. Had I not had all these trees in the way, this thing would rock. So my thought was, what I would do is, at the end of the day, I would just take this piece out. This is a 2-inch Styco insulation board, that I've cut holes through and run the vents and kind of weatherproofed a little bit, but I thought it would take it out every night so I can close the window. Let me show you what it looks like behind. There's the wire to the thermostat coming out. When I cut it, I purposely cut it on an angle this way so that if water did, if it did rain or drip from the roof, it wouldn't drip into the unit itself. It would always go down. There's the cold air inlet right there. So basically I kind of weatherproofed this side, and this side that goes to the window I'm going to pop out every day, I think, at the end of the day. And if it's going to be a cloudy day, I'm just not going to put it in. I just don't want to lose that much heat overnight. Right now it's been a pretty mild winter. We haven't had any snow yet. It's November 19th, and it's pretty mild today. But there you go. Okay, one thing I wanted to show you guys was how I hooked up the thermostat. There's a lot of videos out there, but they don't show you how to do it. So basically, some of the things that you're going to need, you're going to need your fan, whatever cheap fan you decide to buy, really, it's up to you. Thermostat, this is one off of my dryer, but basically it's the same thing. You can buy them on Amazon for, I think I paid $8.95 for mine. It comes on at 110 and it shuts off at 90 degrees. That seems to be what people are using. You're just going to need some plain wire connectors just to connect your wires together. And what I've got here is some disconnects, so I can just disconnect this every night and close the window. And you can get these at Home Depot as well. So you're going to need the male and female end of that, and then you're going to need your wire there. So basically, you're going to buy a plug at Home Depot with nothing on the end. It's just a couple of bare wires on the end. And bear with me for a second. One end of this gets hooked to your fan. The two wires coming out of your fan, one of them gets hooked to the plug, and the other one is going to travel all the way out. Here I've got my disconnects, all the way outside into the back of your unit and to one side of the thermostat, which is this. So one side of this is going to be hooked to your fan, and the other side is going to be coming back to the other end of your plug. So basically the circuit is completed when the temperature in the box reaches 110 degrees. That sometimes they call them a snap disc. The thermostat will kick in, turn the fan off, and then shut off again when it gets down to 90 degrees. So it's pretty easy. One end goes to your fan, comes out of your fan, goes to the thermostat, comes from the thermostat back into the other end of the plug. And it took me a while to figure that out, but just figured I'd help you guys out with that. What I wanted to say was, you see, if you look online, you can actually buy some aluminum, kind of industrial made, I guess, solar air heaters. But if you look at the price of the parts individually, like the air heater itself, when I was looking at, an assembled kit was $529. And some of the individual parts, like let's say the fan, they're charging you $80 for. You can get it hardware store for $29.95. Other parts like the thermostat was $19.95. You can get it online on Amazon for $8.95. Again, paint $18.95 for just the high temp flat black. You can get that at like Home Depot for $10. Backdraft damper, which I don't have here because I'm gonna take that out of the window. Those are going for almost $70, and you can get them for less than $12 online. So if you're smart, you can get the free wood you really don't have to buy all that much in materials to get it done, and you get yourself some free heat. This is the old first unit that I made, and I thought that this design would be pretty good, but in the end what I did, I think it made a mistake, is I forgot to put the thermostat on the inside of the box, and instead I put it on the inside of the tube, and I just don't think it would heat up quite fast enough. So the thermostat really needs to be on the sun side, and the sun needs to hit it. So I really don't know how well this is going to work. I might try to redo this or do something a little bit different. I'm not quite sure. But that was my first design anyway. I think that would have worked just as well as the other one had I just put the thermostat in the right spot. Because I would go ahead and just plug the fan in while it was in the sun, and it would produce decent heat, kind of like the other one, like a hair dryer. And it's kind of like having a hair dryer run all day. The other one anyway is over there. So I've got this one to play with. I'm not quite sure what I'll do, but I'll definitely do something.